a special GB Flag edition, I think we'll call this one. And Andy has let myself and Nick fly solo without him tonight. So you're stuck with us and nobody to timekeep us, so it could be an interesting one. But excitingly, we're also joined by two special guests tonight. We have Joch Frimpong from the GB Women's European Champs, and we have David McInally from the GB Men's team. Welcome, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, thank you.
Amazing. Now, I'm sure you're probably still getting over what has been, well, an immense few days of football, right? Some big games from you both in both teams. I think we'd maybe be remiss, sorry, David, not to start with some excitement and celebration on back-to-back Euros champs in the women. So, Joch, maybe we could just start with a little bit of how does that feel? How are you feeling? You know?
Wow. To be honest, I'm just like over the moon, very, very overwhelmed, like with excitement. Especially because this is my first time representing Great Britain, so to be able to be part of like back-to-back history is honestly something amazing. Obviously, as always, very, very grateful to God, but also being around women that have experienced this before, and it's like, you know, people have seen it as, oh, what is GB gonna come out in, like, you know, in the tournament, and we went out there and we kind of knew, yeah, this was gonna happen, but for it to actually happen feels so amazing. Being able to experience such an opportunity is just, I'm just speechless, to be very honest with you. Like, I'm still actually taking in the feeling, to be fair. I'm actually still trying to actually understand, because there's so many emotions going on. One minute I'm crying, the next minute I'm like, oh, I'm actually a champion, you know? Like, but honestly, yeah, it's just been so lovely to like be in such a situation like this. And I think all you can do is actually just take in the feelings and take in how you feel about it. So yeah.
So you say that you've got a range of emotions. I hear that they go as far as cartwheels. I believe the word in the street is that you are a midnight cartwheeler, is what we've been hearing from inside the GB. Is this true?
So I mean, you can say that. I was stretching my hamstrings upside down, but you know, obviously, you know, the source said it was a cartwheel, right?
And the source, the source at a safely removed distance somewhere far north of the Scottish border is in fact here. David McInally, how would you best describe our good colleague Joch when it comes to that range of spectacular emotions that Kiwis just unpacked there?
How would I describe Joch? So I only met Joch when we actually went out to Paris, and before when we were at Loughborough as well. Firecracker is probably what I would say. It's people you've never met before, and then just to meet them when you're in this kind of tournament mode. A lot of people are very zoned in, very hyper focused on a goal, but it's refreshing to meet someone who knows how to have fun with it, because I'd say from my point of view, that's the way I've always been. And I think someone like Joch, when she spoke at me, she spoke to me 100 miles an hour, and I was like, yeah, I can get on with this person. Like, she is an absolute rocket, but she's a rocket in the best way. She's just, I understand why you're saying your emotions are here, there, and everywhere because of what you guys achieved. But yeah, that from my kind of passings and conversations with Joch, I think that's probably the best way to describe her, as just an absolute firecracker in the absolute best way.
This segues us conveniently into our other guest tonight, David McInally, aka Macca, aka DMac, depending on how far back your history goes with him. Who, if you've listened to part one of this podcast, if you haven't, first of all, shame on you. You're just a glory seeker who's hanging out with the GB talent. But if you have listened to part one of this podcast, you will have heard me gratuitously ranting on about how Macca is, in fact, my favourite flag football player in the men's game. I think he brings an awful lot to the GB setup. I've seen him play in various clubs. We played in the same team at one point. Well, I say loosely we played the same team. He was doing all the work and the rest of us were high-fiving each other, but, you know. Maybe giving Joch a fair chance now, given that this is a fledgling friendship that's in the offing. How would you describe your friend David McInally now that he's set you up as a rocket and a firecracker? I think
Go on, Joch.
Okay, let's find the right. I'm just honestly, I'll be honest. I kind of saw you the same way as well. Like, I would actually use the same word, firecracker, because he's like one of the guys that came in, walked in, you're at Joch and spotted me, and I'm like, what? You know me? Do you know what I mean? And it's like that instant feeling of safety is like how I felt. Like, yeah, like, he's been around, he knows what he's doing, that energy, and it made me feel safe. It made me be able to like let loose my firecracker, you know what I mean? And just being able to be honest. And I think as well, it wasn't just with me, but my teammates as well. And like, you've got a big heart, to be honest with you. You've got a big heart. You may hide it with humor, but you've got a very big heart, and we appreciate you so much. And honestly, baller, big baller. Like, I said, I agree with you, Nick.
You know
He's
that.
a very big baller. I won't lie to you.
We share a planet. I'm telling you, that is true. You know what I mean?
Honestly, I think the words I'll definitely describe it. Like, could you use firecracker already? Let me give you another word. Dictionary searching. I'd say like the life of a party, but in a positive, like not just like literal partying, but like, brings everyone together, the glue of, everything. And I think it's important to have people like that who are centered, but they know when and where to, like, bring in the energy. And I think that's so important. It can't always be too flat, and it can't always be too high. And I think you're that center, that balance, and it's very, very needed. Been in different environments, and I'm even just very grateful that you even acknowledged me and spotted me, and I will cherish that forever. So, yeah.
Oh, amazing. And maybe just before we get into some details, I know that Nick diligently prepared some questions for us to ask you, which is for anyone who's listened to any of our podcasts know that I'm not a planner and I kind of just wing it. So it's nice to have somebody who does do a little bit of prep. But David, I think it would be maybe remiss for us also not to mention, although not coming away European champions, still a huge improvement on Limerick for the GB men, and ultimately securing World Championship place for next year, I think it is, right?
Yep.
So, massive. And maybe coming out of the camp, how did you guys feel about that result for you?
I think, well, obviously we'll talk about this kind of as the podcast develops, but World Championships was always the aim. The men's bracket is incredibly tough. I'm not taking anything away from the women's bracket, but when you look at the top, I'd go as far to say probably the top 10 teams. I think every team looks at that and thinks we could be that 1, that 2, that 3, that 4. And I think that what we've actually done is went and put ourselves firmly on the map again. It now makes that Germany result last year not look like a one-off. And obviously the program itself has went through not a bit of a change. There's been a host of change, especially with Nick Keys coming in as head coach, and then the actual Nick then putting his own staff in place, and the way it worked this year was totally different. I'll talk more about probably Latte last year because I wasn't in Limerick in 2023, but there were a lot of big differences in the professionalism that was shown throughout the squad and throughout the coaching staff during the games, and even games we weren't playing in, and the scout. And I'll give James Slack a big shout out there. The scout that he had put together, the spreadsheet the man had put together was unbelievable, and it helped our scout massively. So to come away with 4th place, it's strange because I've been at a few Euros, and I'm not going to say I'm disappointed with 4th place because it's a huge achievement. But to be so close to that gold and silver medal match against the team that eventually won it and the team that finished 2nd, we were right there as well. It's definitely sweet. I'm not bitter about anything, but it's a huge achievement, not only for the men's squad, for the women's squad, then winning the gold as well. BAFA, flag football in this country, has never looked so good. To have the women going back to back and then the men starting to climb up those rankings is absolutely spot on for where I think we should be right now in Europe. From just going back to the men's, where we should be right now in Europe. Now the whole program is just looking, it's very rosy in the BAFA flag just now.
And let's not sorry, I was
No,
going
no,
to say,
no, you
let's
go
not.
first. I always talk over you, so I'm going to shut up for once. Fine.
This is where Andy normally keeps us under control. This is where we miss him.
It's true.
I was just going to say, and let's not forget, the reason, the fact the program's rosy, what we're all looking forward to, the World Championships, why this is all so important for the next few years, right, is the fact that for anyone who doesn't know and has missed the memo, that flag is going to the Olympics in 2028. And, I believe, and you have to correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's only 6 teams. 6 or 8. I think it's 6.
So I don't know if you know much about this, Joch. I don't know if you'll be. I mean, you guys are looking. I'm not going to jinx anything. I'll keep that to myself. What I was going to say.
Don't say it out loud.
It all depends on who you speak to. Like I've heard 6 teams. I've heard playoffs in 2027 of all the nations that are potentially going. And honestly, see right now, who knows? Who knows?
I think what's important is, and ultimately this is what it comes down to, is getting into those World Championships, because for the first time ever, there is only limited places at the World Champs. So previous to next year, it had been kind of a bit, not a free-for-all, but anyone who could afford to come in could get there, was eligible and allowed to enter. Whereas this time around, they've allocated places based on regionality and teams. So getting qualification for Worlds is important, because obviously all of those ranking points and medals and all of those things are going to be super important for however the chips fall for LA. So I think that's why, for anyone who hasn't listened, it's super important. Nick, you can go now. I just wanted to cover that kind of important point.
I was trying to capture Macca's feeling, and there's a really good thing that went in the Instagram post, and it's a very succinct way of putting it: proud, not satisfied. And I thought that really captured the sentiment of the men's team, because you've got everything to be proud of. Fantastic result, great performance. You really pulled yourself into a good place there. But it is like you say, and especially when you're in a medal match and you come away with nothing. Yeah, that's heartbreaking, because you know that you're one of the big 4, and you're the only one at the. It's like musical chairs. Everyone runs around, and then there's 3 chairs left, and you're the one standing. You just think, really? And those little moments in games. You know them yourself. Yeah, we all know them. We've all played in games. Games aren't. They're very rarely linear. It's very rare that you get a team that's just like drive, and the other team's just the moments, the flashes, the opportunities, that fingertip that you got to a ball, you didn't get to a ball. It's those little things, and I can imagine, David, knowing you well enough, that there's no way on earth that you would be satisfied with that. You're a competitor. You've got a lot more in you than that. So kind of coming back on piece. From my, because I am a planner, and I do have 8 questions there, all jotted out. I gave to David earlier. I was like, "Come on, pal." It's pretty obvious, that what the objectives were going into Paris for both sides. Absolutely, there's no doubt about it. You want to get there, you want to win things, you want to get the podium. Congratulations to the women's team, that's fantastic. And the men's team, man, like you say, we don't know who's going to the Olympics. So therefore, you're in a blind bid right now. So all you can do is just go out and treat every game like it's your last. Get every single result you can. Just keep your foot in the gas all the way now. Absolutely. But individually, right? You've got your own goals going into a tournament. I know we all have, and we all know this as players. And anyone listening to this podcast, if you're a player who ever went to a game day who didn't have something in their mind that they wanted to happen, then you're not participating, you're just spectating. Get out of the way and let other people play. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Can you tell me what your own goals were individually coming into this, and whether or not you felt that you met those? Now, I know that's a bit selfish, we're talking about a team sport, but get to know you, Joch, and that's one thing I really want to know. What did you have in mind? Because this was a big change for you going at the GB setup this year. Lots of things. What goals did you have in your heart that you wanted to take away individually from this? Did you achieve those? And then, Mac, I already know you'll say no, because your goals are probably up here somewhere, and you're like, do you know what, I will never be satisfied. But first of all, Joch, do you want to give us an idea of where you were setting your stall out and how you came away from that as an individual?
Actually, that's a great question, to be fair. So I think for me, I probably had 3 main ones. I know 3 sounds a bit small, but
every good peach has 3 points. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Definitely the first one, I always, everybody knows this, whether you know me or not, but my faith is a very, very big thing for me, and just to allow myself to believe and trust that God's going to kind of take me through the entire journey and trust in him. Because Worlds was a very rocky period for me. I think my faith was very, very up and down, and it wasn't really. I was very, what's the right word to say? I was very doubtful because I had never been in a situation like that before, and I think my plan was to go into Paris with a mindset of, what happened. Yeah, we didn't get the result we wanted, but if I was able to go to that place in China and play for GB at the World Tournaments and Euros is here, knowing how the women have done so well in Limerick, like, I have to be that 1% of faith for my team and for myself. And I think even my coach, which is a very big thing for me, my coach spoke to me about it. He was like, you can't serve two masters. You can't serve faith and fear at the same time. So it really just knocked that right into place. The brick just got knocked right into place, and it's like that was very much achieved. I think probably the second two were obviously physical. One was physical, one was mental actually. Physical was just not jumping too much when I'm blitzing, because I will jump and I'll get sent, and then now there's extra 3 seconds to throw the ball. So I think discipline physically when I was blitzing was a big one. And obviously I was told ahead of time that, like that's where I'm going to be. I'll obviously get the opportunity to play offense, but I think falling in love with playing defense was definitely a big thing in Worlds, and I went into Paris.
You did get a touchdown though. I saw that touchdown. You did get your first international touchdown.
Right, guys. Oh, like honestly. Yeah, sorry, that's like, yeah, okay, let me go back because now I'm gonna start rambling. But I think, like blitzing, going in with the mindset of like focus and discipline, and knowing that my assignment is to just get to the QB, break down, and also not just always go for the PBU, because that was what I built myself on in China and Worlds. And I said, no, I want to pull your tags. You're going 10 yards back. I'm not just gonna hit that. You're going 10 yards back. And I think finding you as the mentor was just, like, I know David said that I'm a firecracker, but also being able to come back down from that high,
Nice.
and just focus on the next one. What's the next assignment? What's the next, game that we need to work on?
Can I just get it? We discussed this in part one. If you still haven't listened to part one, you didn't pause, please go back to part one at this point. We discussed this last call. We said a great football player has IQ, PQ, and EQ. IQ, do you know what you're doing? Do you know your responsibility? Do you know your role? PQ, are you in the good enough shape that you should be in to play at the level you need to play at? But most importantly, EQ, do you have the emotional control?
Yeah.
Can you treat a game like it's 0-0, whether or not you're absolutely piling on the points, or whether or not you're in the trenches? It's 0-0. The next one's the winner. And hearing you say that is just, it gives me goosebumps, because that is exactly what I said. To be at this level, to be the level you guys are at, and knowing you well, Maka, you have all of those attributes. You've IQ, PQ, EQ. If anyone's listening to this game and you think that you're just going to be a great player because you're an athlete, you're kidding yourself. It's about your brain. It's about keeping yourself focused. It's about keeping yourself calm. Know your job. Know your teammates. Know where the weak links are. Be the person who your team needs you to be.
Yeah.
And you both. I'm blown away that you said that, because you just made me almost look like I know what I'm talking about. So similarly, what would you say, Maka? Like, what were your goals going into this? What did you have extra in your own heart, aside from, I want to win this? I mean, individually, what goals did you set yourself?
Yeah, so you're probably not going to like my answer, Nick. I try not to set goals for myself going into these things. There's one goal I always have, and it's not really a physical goal as such, or a mental goal. You probably could say it's mental, but Joch, the way Joch described me, I'm glad she's described me the way she did, because my goal is always to have fun. And I know that sounds really cheesy. I'm 32 years old and playing a sport. I'm just
no
thinking,
way you're 32. You were 32 and I met you 10 years ago. Who are you trying to kid? Sorry.
Trust me, I feel a lot more than 32 right now, let me put it that way. But I think at one point Joch actually called me old. You called me old, I think, the second day I met you, Joch. I can't remember how you phrased it and what we were talking about, but you called me old.
It burns him deep.
You can't really see my greys just now. But, my greys must have been well on show in Loughborough.
Kiwi, there's a fire hazard here. I think we should move on and get a fire blanket on the show.
To just kind of pull it back, like there's you spoke about the kind of emotional intelligence piece and being being able to control your emotions playing this game. I think that's something that is always just keep your emotions in check, make sure, and that's why I always put it to just have fun. It doesn't matter whether I'm playing NFFL or whether I'm playing a Worlds or a Euros, because these kind of games, the European Championships, the World Championships, all of the teams you're playing against are great teams. You're not really looking at teams and thinking these guys are absolutely terrible. So I had a word with Ozzy and Isaac, two of the rookies um, in the GB Lions men's squad, prior to going, just kind of messaging them privately and just saying, listen, give us a shout if you need anything. It's a difficult week. The best thing you can do is just remember to have fun, because you are going to get beat deep. You are going to look like a tool at some point. And at the end of the day, it happens to everyone. My first Euros was in 2017. I think Joch was about 4 years old then.
Yep.
So no, like my first Euros in 2017. There's a guy who played for Sweden. I think scored 3 touchdowns over me, and he's still playing for Sweden now. So I'm not going to name drop him and give him the satisfaction. But that was probably one of the best things that could ever happen to me, because it really, really humbled me at that point. I was like, oh damn, and that's something then that I've carried in to what I do now. Just have fun. That I play my best football when I have fun.
Do you know what? It's an interesting point, because we were mentioning off air, but we've been doing this kind of champion series lately of speaking to, Brit Bowl winners and etc. And we spoke to the Solent Thrashers women's team last week, and they were telling us how a big part of their success this season was around, having fun. And anyone who's not seen, Brit Bowl finals or whatever, they basically went down dramatically in the first half, and then, let the occasion overwhelm them to an extent, and then actually came back out in the second half and we're like, look, if we're not enjoying this, if we're not being ourselves, then we don't play our best football. And there's definitely two ways to look at it, but I think that's really important. And what they kind of said is, look, if you're not enjoying it, what's the point? Why are we doing this to ourselves if you don't enjoy it? Yes, it's serious. Yes, there's all this stuff on the line. Yes, it's pressure, but ultimately, if you don't enjoy playing, then why are you here? And I think that's true at all levels of the game, right?
Yeah, I would honestly say to you, go back and look. And again, I can't really speak for the women's team here, Joch. So the schedules, the way they worked was, in my opinion, was really annoying the way the schedules worked, because the men weren't able to watch the women very often, and vice versa. It was every now and then you were able to maybe catch 15 minutes of a game. Go back and watch the men. I can only comment on the defense. 9 times out of 10, when you've seen the men's defense on a stream, we were smiling, we're having fun. Like that's what it's all about. And to be honest, it comes from the top. Andrew Gibson is the defensive coordinator. He is one of the most meticulous planners you'll ever see. But seeing a sideline, he just has fun, and that spills into our team in the most positive way. And I think you're talking about Solent last week, and the conversation you had with them. It's an amateur sport. It is an amateur sport, and for someone, Joch, correct me if I'm wrong, you're a contact player as well, Joch?
Yeah.
So everyone here's played contact football. What is the point in battering your body in a gym 4 or 5 times a week? Kiwi, you said you're a parent as well. So you're taking time away to travel for games from, it's a little boy you've got, you said, yeah?
Yeah, it is,
So taking time away from your little boy and going to the gym and doing all of that, why would you want to stand in a field in Cheshire or Carlisle or Glasgow or London? It's pouring a rain for you not to go, smile, have fun. Like, it's crap weather, but who cares? I'm here with all my mates. Just smile and enjoy it. And that for me is just, that's my main aim. If I came away from the Euros there and thought I had a dreadful time, I would have hated myself for it. But for me, it's always just have fun. Always just have fun.
Having fun and staying loose is also something that comes very naturally when you're gifted, such as both of you are. There's a classic coaching paradigm that says there's 4 phases of development. There's unconsciously bad. you're just rubbish. You don't know what you're doing, and then nobody can tell you what you're doing. And we all know those people. If you don't, I'm that guy. Okay. Then you have the
harsh on yourself then.
You have the consciously bad zone, which is I'm bad, but I know what I'm bad at, and I'm really, really working on it. And then you have the consciously good zone, which is like I'm good, but I really have to think about it every time. I have to make sure I'm doing my homework, studying my playbook, staying on top of it. And then you get into this zone that really great athletes are, which is unconsciously good, and they're just doing it. You know, it's sixth sense. And I think we saw a little bit of that in your game, David. We'll talk about this shortly. But there's a decisive interception. And I really want to break that moment down, because that to me is a juicy moment. We talk about moments in games. That to me is like a really sweet spot. I want to know what was going in your head in that moment, because that unconsciously good zone allows you to then just go, okay, now I can think about the other things. I can relax. I know what I'm doing here. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to have fun. I can get loose. And when you get loose, your body moves much better. Your mind moves better. You don't get into confrontation with your coaches. You don't get into confrontation with anything going. You don't really care what people are saying behind you, if they're for you, if they're against you. You're just in that moment. Now, Kiwi, I'm at the risk here of running down a rabbit hole, because I've got 3 or 4 points just now that I want to maybe thread in. So I'll shut up on that. But if I can come back and put a pin in that moment in the men's game, because I really want to understand from Maka the psychology of that moment, how he felt in that moment, how things moved in that moment. Did the whole world slow down? How do you stay focused when you know that everything's riding on you just not messing up in that moment? So if you want to ask our other friend Joch a nice constructive question right now, I'm going to just sit in this little bomb and get my coaching notes ready, and I'm just going to let that give us it now, so I can write it down when we get onto the next point. So I will quietly shut up for a moment and just sit in my 3 points.
Well, I was just going to say, maybe for Joch, obviously you mentioned before you've come from contact. You know, you obviously played for London Warriors, for anyone who doesn't know that, which is where I first came across you, obviously playing for London. But your flag journey, I guess, has been remarkable, right? Because I don't know, honestly, maybe tell us about that, how you ended up playing flag, what brought you to flag. Then obviously you got selected for GB, went to World Games this year. An amazing standout performance. I think when most people, saw you, those blitzes, those arms for days, like actually terrifying. I'm kind of glad that I play flag in the north and don't have to face that myself, because I play centre. So, to see that lankiness running at me, I think it would be slightly terrifying. Although I'm sure Maka will have other things to say when I see him on a field in Edinburgh this coming weekend. But tell us a bit about your journey and how you came to flag, how you've found it, maybe any highs or lows, or just a bit about you, because you're obviously new to the flag stage. So
okay, so as Maka said, I was like 4 years old apparently, but I believe it was like, I think 6 years ago when I was in secondary school. I was ready to just stop playing sports. I used to do track and football, and I was getting to that point, 14-year-old girl, and I was just like, I think, I was good at it, but I was like, it's not really what I want to do anymore. So Big Kid Foundation, shout out to Big Kid, very, very, very big part of my life. They helped me get back on track, basically, after school club. I was going frequently, and I was like, you know what, this isn't too bad. I think I participated in the under-17s tournament that used to take place. I think it still does, and I think I didn't play properly again until I was like 18, 19 with Saxon the City, now London Flame. And I think I just started to go to more training sessions and get interested. But I think I got into contact and I was like, okay, contact isn't too bad. But I was doing flag first. So let's go back to, my quote unquote first love. And I was going and David shouted out to Ozzy. Ozzy taught me how to jump. So once Ozzy taught me how to jump, I was able to actually play and catch the footballs, and it was actually much more enjoyable. And and I was like, obviously, me and Ozzy met at Big Kids. It was like that journey was from there. And I think last year is when I went to the trials and I got into the silver squad for GB Women's, and just progressed. I kept my head down, kept pushing. Took every single amount of training I could get. Coaching points, and I think this last 2 years has been the biggest, growth of my journey. I think it's just commitment and discipline. And I got the opportunity to be selected as a reserve last year, and I was like, reserve is not enough for me. I feel like, there's a bigger opportunity that I can, capture, and obviously prayer, of course, but also just putting in the work as well. You can't pray for something and not work towards it. So I think, I put my head down, kept working. I came back the next year and I was like, let's do this. I feel like I'm good enough to be on this GB squad. I may not be where I need to be at right now, but I feel like, let's do what we got to do. And obviously, I went from being an offensive player to being on defense, which I was panicking about. I genuinely was crying to my mum and dad and my teammates. I was like, guys, I don't play defense. I know how to catch the ball. I'm good at running. Now I'm a blitz and a DB. I'm happy to be here. Very, very happy to be here. Whoever tells you I'm not is lying. But yeah, the journey's been up and down. It's been up and down. But it's been a lot of like tears, a lot of, commitment, and a lot of people can tell you that I'm very, very, very harsh on myself, which obviously isn't always the best, but I always feel like I can do a lot better. Worlds was more sort of a learning point, but a lot of people told me that for my first time it was quite good to, do I do, but I think just,
I put you in the team.
That's good. I loved how casual that was there, Joch. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You're quite good.
I'm okay.
Yeah, I'm all right at this.
You know what I mean? Now you have to sometimes, the little stuff second. But yeah, like I think that's been the biggest thing of just learning from the previous, situation. Learning from the previous game, learning from the previous play, and I think I've always been big on that, and I think that's definitely one of the reasons why. And yeah, my journey's been interesting.
I was going to say, you obviously talk about, shall we say, converting from an offensive player to a defensive player. But tell us, where does your heart truly lie? Because we saw those amazing blitzes, but we also saw a touchdown and I believe an extra point
Yeah.
at Euros on the other side of the ball.
Aww.
So tell me, you've got a room full of split people. I'm offense. Obviously, Mac is defense. I think Nick, you're more offense. I think if I'm going to pick.
I'm offensive. I'm certainly offensive, but
tell us. I'm sure that the public would love to hear. Have you been converted completely to defense?
Let's just say.
You're gonna veto this, aren't you? She's vetoing this. She's vetoing this. She's like that. She's like, I will tell you in approximately 15 minutes when the podcast ends.
Yeah. So right, she's saying basically defense I like because I like my team and I like my place, but I'm also secretly still love offense.
So I'm going to flip that question to this guy because I've seen this guy playing offense, okay, and I've seen him as yes, I have. And man, can he play wide receiver? Do you know what I mean? Yes, yeah. Like Alan Mead lived off him for like a whole season of flag football. It was just like that. Just get DMAC. Back then it was DMAC, right? Let's get DMAC defense. Okay, we're not doing so well. Let's get him on offense now. Okay, we're not going so well. It's like, and we're like that. Can he throw? Does anyone know if he can throw? Can he throw a ball? It's like let's just get him doing something else. Like now, David, all-out defender. Everyone associates him as this wonderful defensive back that he is, and he certainly is, and we'll get into that in a second. But he's got a bit of an offensive thing because I've seen him on the sideline and he itches for it, and he's just just come on, just put me in. I'll catch it. Just send me in. Just put me in and go. So, David, why don't you give us the same answer? And your coach is watching too, nice and awkwardly. You're a secret offense lover, and we all know it. So, come on, would you rather play offense or defense if you started again tomorrow?
Defense, not even close. It's not even close. I always put this back. On offense, you can do everything right, but you might be just like a distraction on a play. You might just be the guy that needs to drop back to pull a DB out. If you're a DB, you are affecting every single play. Joch, you spoke about being a blitz. Blitz, in my opinion, as a defensive coordinator and someone who's played this game for a long time, blitz is the most important position on the field. And I want, if kids listen to this podcast and things, I want kids and I want other flag football defensive minds that think just stick the person that can't catch, just stick the person that can't cover, just stick them there. That's silly. Because if you do that, what you're doing is you're taking the one person that can literally affect every single down. You get 8 downs. There's only one player that can affect every single down, and that's the person that rushes. So for me, it's always going to be DB. Don't get me wrong. When I joined Flag back, not when I joined Flag, but when I went back to Flag after playing Contact for as long, offense, that's what it was for me, because I had Alan Mead throwing me fades when no one knew that I had a background in football. It was tremendously fun, but it's always defense. Yeah, and I want to say, can I throw the ball? I'm just going to put this out there. Latte last year, ask Andrew Gibson, ask Alan Young, ask the guys. QB2, if something happened to
I knew that was coming.
it was put on my shoulders, and we done the last camp in Loughborough before going out to Latte. We done a we done an emergency situation where I was put in at QB. I should not have been QB2. Just want to put that right out there. I was awful, but I think it was this guy's shoulder big enough to shoulder this burden. So yeah, it's always going to be defense for me. It's an easy question.
Okay.
I'm not like Joch. I'm well off the fence.
Wow. Okay.
Well, okay. Right. Well, sorry to put you in that awkward spot. I saw your little sarcastic smile there. I know that you've got offense in your heart, but anyway,
somewhere.
There is a particular moment though, and I mean, for me, football's moments. You know, I love football. I've been in it 40 years. I mean, I'm still addicted to it. It'll be anyway. That moment. So there's a moment, decisive moment in the game. Everything's on you. You can see the ball coming in. You know that you've got the opportunity to rise up and take that ball. And obviously you get this decisive interception. And if you haven't seen the game, please, if you haven't even watched part 1 of this podcast yet, then get yourself right back there and watch some of these games from Paris, because there is an exceptional moment. I'm not going to spoon feed you. D-Mac, right? What goes through your mind in a moment like that where you have a potentially game-winning situation, you can see it coming in, it's sweet. Slow that whole moment down for me. Please just give me that whole play. I'm going to sit back, I'm going to have my popcorn, and I'm going to enjoy this thoroughly.
Yeah, so I actually thought you had popcorn there, I won't lie to you.
Yeah, popcorn.
Honestly, we had prepped so many scenarios for the games that we've played in. Ollie Dyer is he was a defensive captain for this team, and he's probably he's like Gibson, he's one of the best minds in football, and he'd prepped everything. We knew what we were going to see. We knew our coverage inside out. We knew what we were going to run. So I'm sure it was that drive. I don't know if you can hear it on stream, but I always say to the guys, one of the best things about playing defense is go make a play. Go make a play. Like, we have the opportunity to slow down an offensive machine here and just kill a game out, and there's nothing better than that feeling. But we had a breakdown at one point. I'm sure I think it was we took a timeout. I can't remember if it was us or Denmark took a timeout. And I just said to the guys, manifest this, like, let's do it, let's manifest this into reality. So the breakdown was literally manifest on 3, and that drive, well, obviously the big play happens, but I'll say go back and watch Japan, the play, because strangely it was eerily similar to what happened at the Worlds against Japan, just the field was longer this time. But the route concept, so the wide receiver that I had lined up against me ran a fade. They had shot an out towards the front pylon. So in my head, there's 2 things that go into my head. Why is that wide receiver running a fade? He's running a fade to clear me out from the front of the end zone. If he's running me a fade to clear out from the front of the end zone, I need to get to the front of the end zone because there's going to be something coming that way. The other thing I also think about is I need to be at the front of the end zone because that's the easiest throw. Nick, you've played QB for a long time. Would you rather throw a 10-yard out at flag football, or would you rather throw a 30-yard fade and have to put it right on a dot? Yeah. I also know my safety that's playing with, Max Verlint. He was going to be there. They have a very obvious target in that scenario, a guy called August, who is about 6'7" and has, to quote Kiwi earlier on, limbs for days. He's just got arms upon arms everywhere. So there's a few things that go through my head. He's running a fade. Why is he running a fade? Because something's going to shoot across the front. What's the easiest throw? The shoot across the front. And is there someone behind me? I know Max, I play with him at club level, have done for 4 years, played with him at GB level. It's those things that went through my head, and I won't lie. You said you see the ball coming in. Joch will tell you I had an issue with my eye in
Yeah.
Paris.
Yeah.
My right eye was as red as my eye could be, because
Yeah.
apparently the physio thinks I've scratched the lens of my eye because I wear contacts, or try to wear
The
contacts.
contacts, yeah, right.
So my vision wasn't 100%, which was quite funny, which is probably, I mean, I'll blow smoke up my own backside here. I've got good hands and I know I do. Watch the playback. The ball ricochets off my chest and squirts up into the air. I was terrified when that happened, because I was like, oh no, someone's going to catch this bloody football. But fortunately, it didn't. And yeah, after that, I just thought, just go, just run, just see what happens. And when you beat the first guy, the quarterback's a big boy, but he's not much of a mover. So I just thought, if I can get round him, we've got, like, the game was done at this point, but it's like, if I can get past him, we're going to have an absolutely incredible moment. And that's the kind of moment that can lift you through the rest of the tournament. That's the kind of moment that can take you into Italy from being from, yeah, we beat Denmark, well done. That's the kind of moment when the bench clears, and we're talking about before the kind of emotional side of it. That is the kind of moment that can literally rise the whole program, or the whole squad up the program. If the women are there, a lot of the game right now is still a blur for me. But that's the kind of play that can really rise up for the whole team and the whole program. And yeah, it was unbelievable. If I'm being honest with you, you'll see there's a couple of pictures. I was in absolute tears after the game, just uncontrollably crying, and teammates and everyone was just there for me. I go back, and you said you could talk earlier on, Nick. Trust me, you've met your match here. But you go back, I've got a 16-month-old daughter, and I would say a very tolerant wife for allowing me to go away and play flag football for a week. It doesn't. I'm not going to say it makes it worth it, because taking a week away from your child is incredibly difficult to do. But it starts to kind of not vindicate it in your head, like, because it's just so tough. But then you have these moments, you have this incredible high, and I'm normally someone who, believe it or not, can control my emotions. But at that point, I just lost it. I was sat on the bench. Most of the other players had cleared away, and that's when the bloody Rory, the BAFA guy, comes up. Brilliant guy, Rory. Come up and went, I need you to do an interview for BAFA and IFAF. And I was like, really? He was like, yeah, he went, just promise me you won't swear. I was like, look at me. He was like, no, you can cry. He was like, you're fine to cry. But no,
that's because you had something in your eye, though, wasn't it? That was come on.
Yeah.
Getting the contact.
There's people listening to this podcast who obviously are friends of yours, like Nunesy, people like that, who know you from the contact game. They'll probably know all of us from the contact game, who might not know flag so well. But let's just conceptualize this point he's making here. This all happens within 2 seconds. Okay, now if you watch that play, this all happens within 2 seconds. So he's just talking about Julie and his wonderful kid and life and everything going on, and this ball coming in and that route going short. I'm going to cut that one short because he's going to be the front pylon, the trust guy. All of this happens within the gap between 3 Mississippi and 4 Mississippi on a play, okay? Play like that's going to take about 4 seconds. In contact, you're probably looking about a 7 to 10 second play. There's a lot more movement, a lot more space. Quarterback gets the ball, 1 Mississippi, okay? Quarterback sets back, 2 Mississippi. That route's developing by the 3rd Mississippi and the ball's out of his hand, okay? Otherwise, you've got a top-class blitzer who's going to make you look bad. You to capture that emotion, to make that decision, to be able to know what you're doing. This is that zone I talked about unconsciously good. Now, you can look back at it now and say, oh, I thought about those things. I bet you didn't. I bet your gut just went, that's where I'm going. And it's just that. And that to me is what, and I am going to blow smoke up in here. I made a comment on the previous show, which you should still listen to, and I'll repeat that for the third time, because there was the point I made about elite football, and a lot of people use that term really loosely. Like, do you know what I mean? I play for a good team, therefore I'm elite. No, you're not, okay? And I don't mean any disrespect, but in the UK, there's probably about 4 to 5 elite players in the female and the male game. I'm really sorry if that's harsh to anyone else. There's lots and lots of people who are consciously good. There's very, very few who are unconsciously good. You are one of them, in my humble opinion, and I know you will. That is a heck of a decision to make in a split second. All that riding on it, after that, of course you're going to be emotional after that, because the body doesn't react like that in a moment with, if you did, you'd be a sociopath. Come on, let's be honest with each other. It's like, so just for the folk who don't really know flag, what we're talking about here is all of that decision making, all of that pressure, all of that moment in a split second. Now that is phenomenal. And I think having players in our game who are of that level, you know, what you can do for other people around you, how we can bring this game forward in the UK is excellent. We've got some real good talent. They're in a good spot now. We've got to get behind you guys. We've got to support you all the way now in this big push to get to the Olympics, because there is a unique moment in history right now where our game can go from third gear to fifth gear, you know, and I think we really, really have to get behind that right now. And David, thank you for sharing that moment. Thank you for pretending for a moment you made those decisions, because you didn't. You subconsciously just processed, and that
I want
awesome,
you to watch back something though, right? And it was Googie. You know Googie, Michael McGugan from
of course,
Manchester. So we played
He just
Austria.
won, by the way. He just won with the Bombers.
Shout out to the Bombers. Yeah.
Greggy, love you, man.
Googie's a great guy for obviously those of you who don't know him, and he's a contact lineman that's transitioned to flag football coaching, and it's great to see someone like Googie that's been contact lineman transition into that. It's brilliant. But if you watch, there was an interception against Austria the same day. Watch it back. Similar play concept. We ran the same play defensively. It's knowing your reads. So it's understanding your read as well. A lot of players want to play defense, but a lot of players don't want to to play defense at an elite level. You need to understand offense. You can't just think to yourself, I understand what is cover 2. I understand what is cover 3, blah, blah, blah. You need to understand in that scenario, why is the offense trying to move me here? Well, they're trying to run a fade to pass or potentially pass me off. So if you can get eyes back as well, because you're in your correct phase position, that's where the difference between a quick tackle and an interception is. It's a very, very similar. It's a very, very. It probably, as you say, it's unconscious. It is, but it's understanding. It's then having that understanding of 25 years of playing the sport. I've had 25 seasons worth of playing the sport. I mean, I've played longer than Joch's been alive, and a lot of the women's team have been around. So then it's then having that understanding, because I've done it for as long. And I want to kind of touch on something you said there as well, throwing weight behind it, throwing funds at it, getting guys, girls, kids that haven't had the opportunity, getting them the opportunity. And one thing I will say is, with the funding that's come into the sport, there's a noticeable difference between 2017 and 2025. Huge difference. So there is a thanks that needs to go to BAFA and where we're getting the funding from as well. But I think every effort needs to be made to get kids into the sport, because I spoke to Aussie, or not. I spoke to Aussie on when did we leave? Was it the Tuesday? Joch, was it Tuesday? Yeah. So on the Monday, we did a shirt presentation as part of the men's team, and it was brilliant. One of the things that Coach Nick made us, seems like a very forceful word, but had us do was say why we're here and what drives us on. And Aussie, I won't go too much into it, but the way Aussie spoke about the community and what he's trying to do for it, it's the kind of thing genuinely could bring a tear to a glass eye, like what he's trying to do. And I think BAFA, he's the kind of guy that BAFA should listen to and say, right, there's kids here that aren't having the opportunities that others are having. Our sport is a minority sport. It shouldn't be for the elite. It shouldn't be for the guys and girls that can afford to do this. It needs to be for the wider community, not just for guys and girls that have parents that can afford to drive them from Glasgow to Manchester for a game day. It should be for everyone. It's a minority sport. Let's put the funds into getting the kids and the teams where they need to be.
Brilliant.
For sure.
Absolutely. I'm swinging it back your way now. I'm going to do this in a very natural way because I wanted to make a comment about blitzing and come back to Joch here. Leaning on what David said, and this is my hand off to you, Kiwi, and I promise I'll shut up for the next 5 minutes. But there's a really good point about the importance of blitzing. We went 19-0 this year, okay? We went 19-0 this year. We got a record number of interceptions we've never had before. We did great, in the deep defence. But it all came from the fact that on 82, and I know this because I'm a geek, 82% of the time we blitz, okay? And I know that because I track every single statistic of every piece of information that goes on in the game, I capture it, okay? That pressure that's applied by the blitzer changes everything. The quarterback, a top quality quarterback with more than 3 seconds is going to skin you alive. Do you know what I mean? But if you can put that pressure on them, you can force that back step. And I know this is a quarterback, is a bad quarterback. If you can force somebody on that back step, that ball's going up there, and somebody like Maka is going to have a field day with it. If that's a bit. So swinging it back into the importance and handing off to Kiwi where I now shut up because we're looking at the 54-minute mark, and I did promise that I managed to keep this thing within 45 for once. You cannot ever, 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 ever take that for granted. And teams that put that player who they don't think is whatever, or this, that, they're not quite good enough hands for a wide receiver, or maybe this, that. Your blitzer should be the start and the beginning of everything you do. That's your pressure point. That determines everything that offense is going to do. That determines whether or not they've got a 3-second playbook or they've got a 7-second playbook. And that is night and day when you're trying to beat a team. So coming back now, Kiwi, to the wonderful world of blitzers. Well, nowadays blitzers, London Warriors, wide receivers, but turned blitzers. I will now shut up and hand off because I've got my fill of Maka and he's made my life fully complete. And next time I hope we can reach a little bit further. If that's something that was cued to say thank you. Back over to the world of blitzing and over to you, Kiwi.
Yeah, I was just I think maybe it would be absolutely remiss of us to not touch on the women's final, right? That tough game against Austria, who you had only lost to a month ago at World Games, right? And, I would love you to kind of take me through the game, obviously from the player's point of view, from, progression into overtime, and then ultimately into that, defensive stand to kind of prevent that 2-point attempt, which was like, I'd love to hear, Joch, your kind of thoughts. Give me some insight, on how that was for the team and how I would love to know what was said before that extra time. I think everybody would love to have a little bit of insight on that.
Okay, I hope we start from the beginning of the game. Austria are a very, very loud team. They come out with their music, jumping, screaming, trying to be intimidating. And definitely it definitely was a new thing for a couple of us. But this time around, it was definitely like you're in the wrong place. Like, that and we came out with our energy, like, the team was just like a different team responding to that. And so because of that response of like difference, we went onto the field with a sense of like authority, especially because we had powered through every other game. We've played well, we've actually gelled and developed, and our coaches basically were just like foot on the gas, like foot on the neck. Like our coach said it from before we left Loughborough that we're leaving with no hostages, and that meant that we're leaving everything out there in Paris. And that was literally when it came to the finals, we were like, we're taking back what we rightfully deserved. Do you know what I mean? And so when we got on the field, it was so important that we just left everything that was not meant to be on the field, just leaving it out there. And I think as a team, seeing the development and the faith as well, as I said before, our motto is definitely faith over fear. Like, we believe that we're meant to be here. We believe that it's not a just sense of winning, but we believe that our result is going to be the result that we highly deserve. Shout out to Jess, shout out to Emily, Marta, you know, all of these like wonderful women, you know, who were making big plays when it was very needed to be made. You know, we got to see the day 3 Marta, who was just dominating. Now, if you don't know, day 3 Marta is what it is like in the finals. Like she will preserve everything until that final day, and it comes out like a, you know, a big beast. And you know, we've got Jess, the rookie QB, just throwing dots, you know, putting the ball where she knows her receivers are gonna get. And you know, the defense as well. Like we're just playing. You know, it's a pleasure to play alongside like Emma Dedicoat, you know, I mean Grace Conway, Marta, Hannah. We just had to lock in as a unit. I literally will go on the field and be like, I got you guys got me, I got you guys. Literally, that's all I used to say when I got on the field, I got you guys. And, you know, as a blitzer, all I can do is be disciplined. And I think the feelings, it's just, I don't want to get emotional because I am a crybaby, but like, it's just, when you're on the field with women that you've gone to war with, you know, like a team that you've actually, you know, powered through with, it's like, when moments like the final comes, it's like, I don't mind drawing blood for you. I don't mind putting myself in a position where I know by any means necessary, I'm going to do what I need to do. And I won't lie to you, my groin was in so much pain, but that groin pain was not worth losing the finals. You know, my coaches were like, Joch, you have to speed up. And, you know, the blitz, my teammates were like to me, Joch, this is a big play. We need you here. And I'm like, you know, guys, I got you. And, you know, it's just, okay, no tears, no crying, no crying.
Oh, you're okay. You're okay. You're in good company.
Sorry.
You're in good company.
Yeah. It's just like, honestly, it was just a pleasure to be alongside like those women. Definitely role models to me. And like, you know, as David mentioned, like community, you know, is so important because that's the reason why this team was able to just power through, you know, the support we had on the sidelines and the stands, you know, and just that discipline of, you know, we knew what we wanted and we knew we were going to get it. And I think that last play is where it all just gelled together. Marta just going, you know, just batting the ball. Like, I think for me, it was just once the whistle blew and it was tied, I'm going to be so honest with you. If you go back onto stream, you will see me pacing up and down. I was praying, like sincerely, intercessory prayer. And once the whistle blew, I didn't feel any sense of like doubt or worry. I felt so filled with peace. And I was like, why do I feel like this? But we're tied. You know what I mean? My teammates dropped the balls, whatever. Like, they didn't catch some of the balls. But I was like, and it's like to see the final score, I was just like, that's why, you know, the faith, the belief that your team can do it, you know, the hard work we've put in for 6 months, coaches traveling from America, every single camp, teammates traveling from America, every single camp, teammates coming through, you know, families. As you mentioned, some of these, my teammates are married with families, you know, some of us are uni students, some of us, like a lot of us work 9 to 5, you know, having to put in shifts, you know, sacrificing things. Teammates who recently got married, you know what I mean? And it's like, there's so much sacrifices people have to make, and that's where it all ends, you know, at the finals, you know, the last, you know, couple minutes of the game. And I won't lie to you, shouting out to the men's team, because there was one point where my stomach was going it's shaking, bouncing, and I just heard a chant, you know, in the crowd, and I was just like, I needed that. And
what was the chant, Joch?
No, we're not going to say it on the podcast. No.
Oh, now we all want to know, because we can't hear that on the stream.
Come on, give it.
You got to say it, Dave. No, I'm not saying it.
So, I'll give you a bit of background. Travelling on the Eurostar on the way over, both teams were in this one train carriage. So, got 2.5 hours. Let's pass the bloody time. Let's create chants for all of the women, and the women created chants for all the men.
That's nice.
I mean, Joch, it lends itself to the word rock. So I can't shout because I've got a 16-month-old baby above my head. But all of the men were in the stand, and there's only one nation singing this whole time. We've had a few beers. Sorry, we've had a few beers. And Joch's in blitzing. Need pressure on the QB because she's brilliant QB. So all the guys are like, ready, it's Joch's song. 3, 2, 1. It's we will Joch you. And it's just the whole section that we were in was just shouting, and you see the girls on the sideline just laughing and smiling. It's just brilliant.
Yeah,
amazing. I'm glad to hear that the chants have evolved from what was in Limerick, which was Crocs off for GB. So I'm glad to hear that they've at least evolved slightly.
Oh, you don't know the
That's
half
brilliant.
of them, by the way. Like, we could create a Spotify playlist with the ones we had. It's
Yep.
tremendous.
Kiwi,
Yeah.
I said I wouldn't
Amazing.
say anything, but I've got one thing for Joch that's just in my heart.
You can't help yourself.
And this is just between me and her, and this is no offense or disrespect to anyone else listening to the podcast. Everyone's entitled to their own life, right? But my sister, listen to that. I just had Esther 4, verse 14 in my head, and you were born for a time such as this.
Yep.
Amen. Okay.
Yep.
All right. That's it. Sorry, I'll leave that there. But like, I mean, that is a word for you, sister. All right.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Big one.
Amazing.
Big one. Thank you.
And maybe just before we kind of sign off, because mindful that we have kept you longer than we said we would, although hearing all the great insight has been amazing. It would be nice to maybe just get your kind of final thoughts, words, feelings on the tournament and on the future and looking, towards Worlds next year, I guess. Joch, do you want to, we'll start with you this time.
Okay, I'll definitely say I'm very, very grateful as always to have this opportunity and be able to go out there and do what, my coaches believed I was able to do. I want to say a big thank you to Coach Jack and Coach Markey for seeing the potential in me before I ever saw it myself. I just wanted to say like a very big thank you. The ladies were honestly a backbone. Being able to also be vulnerable and share my faith as well amongst them. A lot of people being driven to know what kind of keeps me going and how it can also help them. And I think as well, just going out there, I think like David, I can definitely attest that the men were definitely a big support. Being able to be chilled and supported by you guys was amazing as well. And I honestly, the games we did get to see definitely lit a fire under me because it's like the way you guys play together. As you said, that fun, that brotherhood, that support in one another was so important. And yeah, just like as you said, like the opportunity to play this sport and represent your country is not something small, so it's like having this opportunity is definitely something I'm very grateful for. And hopefully I will be able to wear this, represent the country once again next year, hopefully. And it'll be great to see everyone again, and yeah, but here's to being European champions.
Amazing. And I'm sure with those arms for days we talked about before, I'm sure we're going to see you around for a long time yet. And it's very exciting. And David, from your side, what are your kind of, I guess, final thoughts, feelings on the tournament, on the squad, on the future of flag and Worlds next year?
The tournament itself was probably the best flag football experience I've ever had. It was the playing. I said this to a few of the guys. It was 9 out of 10. The playing. Just simply, it would have been great to have a medal, but as I said, not disappointed with how it was. Not satisfied, but not disappointed. We lost 3 games. We lost to Italy, who finished first, Austria, who finished second, and France, who finished third. So it was an absolutely phenomenal achievement from all guys that were involved in the squad. The camaraderie within the squad and the programme was absolutely fantastic, and it's those kind of relationships that you'll never ever forget. Whether you're in the squad for one cycle or whether you're in the squad for 4 or 5 cycles, it doesn't really matter. That's your squad, and it'll always be the 2025 squad, and that's just a brilliant thing. Also, to do with the squad, there's a lot of people will look at it and think, how do I crack that squad? One of the important things I want to shout out is the silver program, because not a lot of people think about the silver program when they think about gold. I know that sounds a bit silly, but you look at our program this year: Liam Harper, silver; Isaac Harding, silver; Joe Cotterill, silver; Max Verlint, silver; Ollie Dyer, silver; Aussie, silver. 6 guys that went to the European Championships and had GB men's highest ever finish were part of the silver program. So although you might look at it, if you're put into the silver program, it is a development program, and it was something that former head coach Alan Young put in place, and clearly it shows it works. Literally 50% of the squad have been away and played in the silver teams, and I think that is an absolutely fantastic advert for flag football in this country is not just a put down of you're not good enough for gold, so you're going to be in silver. It's development. And the future of flag football in this country, from both a men's and a women's perspective, is so bright. It is ridiculously bright. We had Ben Schneller in our squad this year. Ben came to camp, a 17-year-old boy, and lined up against me and ran past me. I have never seen speed like Ben Schneller's speed before. And we spoke to him about a few of the guys that are coming through. He's high on them as well. He's now an 18-year-old man. And it's just fantastic to see the youths at the European Championships as well. I think the future of this sport is bright, and especially now with the investment that's going into it. And let's hope that the investment gets used the way we want it to, and the way I think BAFA will do it, if I'm being totally honest with you. So I think plenty more golds to come, hopefully.
Amazing. Well, I think we'll leave it there. I'm sure we could be here for days and several more hours at least, chatting all things flag. But yeah, I think it's been fantastic to be joined by both of you. Obviously, huge congratulations on an amazing tournament for both teams. And we all look forward to seeing the future of GB flag and tuning in for Worlds next year. So once again, thanks Joch, thanks David, and obviously Nick for joining us. And tune in, we shall have an episode probably next week after the first game day of the WFFL. So there will be more flag to come your way.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.